Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me here at the First Alert Desk. My name's Karli Barnett. We want to give you a look at some of the stories that we are following for your Thursday. We hope you've been having a good day. Just a reminder, you can join us tonight at 10 on Peachtree TV and 11 on WANF. We are going to have a lot more on all of these stories. This is just a small sample of the stories that we've been working on today and what we can expect later on tonight. In just a few minutes, we're going to have First Alert meteorologist Patrick Pete giving us a look at the forecast. But in the meantime, I do want to give you a look at some of the headlines that we are following. So 1145 Club, you've probably heard this throughout several of our newscasts. This has been a troubled area, particularly since a shooting that happened on Mother's Day that killed 2 people and injured 4 others. Well, there was a hearing about the 1145 establishment today, and it was at that hearing that the owner winds up actually getting arrested. So we're going to explain all of this. More trouble for this Buckhead nightclub that's already under a microscope following that deadly shooting. The owner of the 1145 Lounge was arrested because of a separate case as a judge decides whether to permanently shut down his business. So who you're looking at here is 1145 Lounge owner Jabril Defay being taken into custody on charges of failure to appear in court on another case. The judge announcing there was an outstanding warrant for his arrest. After the Mother's Day shooting at the club killed 2 people and injured 4 others, the club owner agreed to close the club for 60 days until the hearing today. Now, the hearing featured testimony from concerned residents who say this club should be closed after the order expires. Testimony will continue in this hearing tomorrow. There, in fact, at one point was a petition that was circulating for the club to close its doors permanently. So our reporter Madeline Montgomery is following this case with a look back at what happened in court today and a look ahead at what we can anticipate tomorrow. So again, you can see more of what Madeline reports tonight at 10 and 11. And if you want a little bit more background on this story, we have a lot of coverage on our website, atlantanewsfirst.com. Like I said, this is not the first time that we have been reporting on this establishment, so you can search this on atlantanewsfirst.com or through our app. We have plenty of other stories that will certainly get you up to speed as to what brought us to today. Now, this next story I want to talk about, this is actually a continuation of a story that I brought you yesterday here at the First Alert Desk. As we know, a family is mourning the loss of a loving son and a brother. There was a young man who was killed when a tree fell on top of his vehicle during stormy weather that we had in Cherokee County. We now have a photo of 27-year-old Levi Wilson. You can see the tree down on his car there. He was suddenly killed this week when that happened. Atlanta News First reporter Rachel Aragon spoke with those who knew him best. She reports that Levi was a triplet and had an older brother. Earlier this week, those strong storms swept through, knocking down trees and power lines. One of those was the large tree that fell on top of his vehicle. His family says Levi was on his way back to his parents' house with food. He was known for his positivity and love of animals and was very close to his family. We actually spoke with his father, who, of course, just devastated over his son's loss.
You better love your kids and tell them you love them and hug them. You need to call them right now and tell them you love them and hug them. What I wouldn't give to have my baby back here right now and hug him and kiss him and tell him I loved him.
His family was saying that he insisted going out to get food for everybody, talking about just what a selfless person he was, but he insisted that he do that, and unfortunately, it was because he was out and about that day. Just horrible timing with what happened, but certainly a great loss for his family. Just a sudden and tragic loss when something like that happens. Just a reminder of how when we tell you about these first alert forecasts, when we tell you about these first alert weather days, these are just those reminders to stay extra vigilant, stay extra careful, and be mindful and stay weather aware when those types of days happen. Another sad headline to talk about. A vigil will be held tonight to honor the life of a mother and her infant baby after a house fire that happened this week. Now, the fire happened in South Fulton. The vigil is taking place in Lithonia, where this woman's family lives. The young woman and her infant were killed in that house fire, as we mentioned, on Connell Road. I'm going to pull that video up for you here. The South Fulton Fire Department says they responded to a fire at that home around midnight on Tuesday. South Fulton Assistant Fire Chief Glenn Washington says there were immediate search and rescue efforts. When crews responded, dispatch arrived, hearing that there may have been trapped victims. Fire officials say a total of 4 people were inside. 2, as we mentioned, were not able to make it out. Investigators later recovered the mother and her baby inside. The South Fulton mayor said that neighbors came out to support those affected. Atlanta News First spoke with a roommate off camera who had said that Tuesday night storm knocked out their power and said that it appeared there were candles that had been lit inside. There has been no official cause of this fire released. It's still unclear if candles had anything to do with this. But fire officials say they are going to continue investigating the cause. At this point, we have not had the names of the victims released. But again, we do know that a vigil will be honoring their lives later on this evening. Again, just another update to this story that we've been following this week, and another sad update to have to report. So I know I've given you a lot of heavy news, so let's turn now to something a little lighter, right? A little lighter, and that's the fact that kids are back in school. Hard to believe that children are already back in class, several going back today, more going back tomorrow. Dawson County, Troup County, Carroll and Hall counties, they all go back tomorrow. And our reporter Joshua Skinner, he is going to be live from Carrollton tonight to talk about everything that parents and students need to know for back to school. So you can join a little bit later on tonight just to make sure you have all those boxes checked before you have to wake up for that early alarm in the morning. So, but Atlanta News First was there as many students were heading back to class. In fact, 24 North Georgia school districts had their first day back in the classroom today. We'll give you a look at some of those. The Cobb County School District starting the school year with just a handful of job openings, which is really a stark contrast to some of the other Metro Atlanta school districts where they are having trouble attracting teachers to fill those vacancies. Students, teachers, all getting ready to go back into the classroom. Also a good reminder, too, you are probably going to be sharing the road with a lot more people who are taking their children to class with school buses. So always a good reminder. We have more resources on this on AtlantaNewsFirst.com as well as our Atlanta News First app to remind you about, just safety on the roads, minding the rules of the school bus. And, this is just, of course, to keep children safe, to keep you safe and all the other drivers safe as well. Always a positive reminder. I mean, we just can't emphasize it enough. Now, it wasn't just Cobb County, of course, Atlanta Public Schools. They are establishing some new routines now that they have started back. Dr. Brian Johnson is the new superintendent. He started his day by touring Sylvan Middle School and meeting the teachers. It was around 50,000 Atlanta Public School students. They were excited to see their friends again today. And as we mentioned, of course, just safety staying top of mind for public safety officials as all of these children head back to class. And let's see, we've also got some video from Fulton County Schools for you. They and AAA were speaking to Atlanta News First earlier this morning, and that's at the school bus inspection process at Herds Ferry Elementary in Fulton County. Officials spending hours to ensure that every single bus meets the highest safety standards before hitting the road. So absolutely a team effort there, from those who pick up your children in the morning to those who are there to greet them in the classroom the next day. Hard to believe, already back in class, but hopefully all of your students have had a wonderful summer and can be starting out the school year on a good note, excited to see their friends again, excited to get class started. Now, something else to point out is there are quite a few schools that will be going back with no phones on them throughout the day. That includes DeKalb County schools. That includes Marietta City schools. So we have done, again, a couple stories on this on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. If you are curious if that includes your child, go ahead and look that up. But yes, some school districts, they are locking their phones away in a pouch that's ultimately opened at the end of the day. So definitely not something that I really had to contend with when I was back in school, having my phone on me, at least not till I got well into high school, that was really too much of a concern. All right, let's go ahead and take you outside now. All right, we see the sun is shining. It's setting, really. We're looking live over Marietta Square. We see Kennesaw Mountain in the distance. And we have First Alert meteorologist Patrick Pete joining us now. So, Patrick, I mean, we want to know if the weather's going to be good for all of these schools that are headed back tomorrow or who just started back today.
It's going to be much of the same, unfortunately, Karli. It was humid. It was sticky. And I do think that we see a little bit of improvement as we head into the day tomorrow. But unfortunately, we're in that time of year where things are just hot and uncomfortable. As you can see that we are still under a heat advisory for a couple of more hours until 9 o'clock. Actually, for another 45 minutes. I'm sorry. Let me check myself before I wreck myself. Heat advisory until 9 o'clock for all of the areas that you see highlighted here as the mugginess just continues to be an issue. Those feels like temperatures are near 100 degrees in some places, actually above in others. So this is something that we're going to continue to dive into as we head through the next couple of hours. Good evening to everybody. Thank you for sticking with us. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I am going to give you that hour by hour play of what we're expecting over the course of the next couple of days. And to be quite honest, it's going to be much of the same. I do want to take you outside real quick. First alert radar showing some spotty showers, mainly south and east of the city. Nice little thunderstorm there, moving through portions of northern Henry County, but it's fizzling, so we're losing the lightning. Still seeing some rain. Otherwise, I think it's just going to be this humidity. Check it out. Feels like 102 here in Atlanta right now. Just really brutal out there. And as we head into the overnight hours, temperatures will gradually slide. I think we dip to the mid 70s overall across the region tonight, so it's going to be warm. And as we head into the day tomorrow, we're expecting a lot of sunshine to kickstart the day, but those numbers are going to climb quickly, already in the mid to upper 80s by lunchtime. Now, if there's any good news in the forecast, it's going to be the fact that the humidity is going to be not as aggressive as it was today. I still think it's going to be humid because, hey, the time of year that we're in, but I think that it's going to be pretty manageable for folks in the evening. Here's that chance for showers and storms tomorrow. Isolated at about 20 to 30%, mainly north of the city. That's going to be our best chance to get in on some action. Good evening, Jacqueline Padilla. First comment. Hello back to you. Spotty showers and storms tomorrow. You can see that they're not all over the map, so this isn't going to be something that impacts everyone. But there is a secondary wave that moves down, and if you saw that last couple of frames there, you can see that it does weaken as it moves in. We think that's likely because of the time of the day, but we're going to keep a 20% chance that we still deal with a little bit of moisture late tomorrow night. So just don't be surprised if there's a spotty shower or two tomorrow night when you're trying to get out and about in the streets. I don't think it's going to be massively impactful, but something that we're going to continue to watch. Trending drier through the overnight. There is going to be enough energy in the atmosphere that we could get a rogue severe thunderstorm. We saw that today. It was mainly east of the city of Atlanta, but can't rule out a stray thunderstorm producing some 60 miles per hour wind. Heavy downpours, lots of lightning, and some pea-sized hail. That's going to be possible through the day tomorrow. You saw the heat index, 102 here in Atlanta right now. As we head into the afternoon tomorrow, I expect those heat indices to flirt with 100 degrees across most of the region. I think we're going to have the better chances of getting that heat index above 100 south and east of the city. I'm looking at you in Eatonton. Y'all are always soupy and hot and humid down there, and unfortunately, you're going to feel that again tomorrow. No heat advisory right now issued for the day tomorrow, and I don't expect there to be as many counties in one tomorrow if we see that come down the pipeline. If it does happen, it's going to be for those areas south and east of the city. The weekend forecast, I know a lot of you are trying to make plans to get out and about. Rain chance on Saturday. Saturday's rain chance looks to be late afternoon, south and east of Atlanta. And then Sunday looks mainly dry, so we dropped that rain chance to 20%. So I think that there's going to be a lot of dry time embedded in this weekend for you to get outside. Just remember, it's going to stay in the 90s, so it's still going to be hot for the next couple of days. Beyond that, our focus goes to the tropics. We've been telling you about this area of low pressure that we expected to move towards the greater Antilles, and it's there right now. The Bahamas, near Dominican Republic. It's drifting towards the northwest. And as it makes its way closer to the Gulf of Mexico, the conditions do become a little bit more favorable. We do see the potential for some slow development. We could get a tropical depression over the course of the next few days. Chance over the next week is about 70%. The models take this into the Gulf and then curve it northward. And beyond that, that's where this game gets a little bit interesting. Whether or not we get a tropical depression or any organized tropical system, there's going to be some tropical moisture that's moving in the general direction of the northeast. Depending on how westward of a track this system takes, the more we could be impacted with rain. And right now, this is going to be a rainmaker. This is going to be the primary concern here. So I want to make sure that no one's getting. I know that whenever we talk about tropics and you see spaghetti plots, we're thinking, the worst. We're talking about a rain chance, depending on the path of this system. So I want to make sure that is clear. But the further westward this system tracks, the more rain we could potentially see. And we know that we saw 14 inches of rain last month. I think it was the fourth wettest July on record, and maybe the seventh wettest month ever on record. And our records go back to the 1880s. So that's definitely something that is interesting to say, but the potential for more rain next week is something that we'll keep an eye on, especially with our grounds being as saturated as they've been over the course of the last couple of weeks. Nonetheless, we're just going to call it a casual 20% chance of rain early next week. We may drop some of these 20s, especially this Sunday, Monday, Tuesday period, depending on what the system starts to do, or we may have to increase it if it looks like it's going to be more of a westward track. This is one of those times where we say keep a casual eye on the forecast. Of course, we'll keep you updated here on this stream, but we also have weather hits throughout all of our newscasts, and you can catch that as well as our First Alert weather app. Here's that 7-day forecast so that you can make your plans, and a First Alert weather day is in place for tomorrow. I think that this is an incredibly low-end impact first alert, but we want to make sure that you know that it's still going to be hot, still going to be a little humid, and there's still going to be that potential for an isolated rogue strong to severe thunderstorm. As far as how this is going to impact most people, I don't think that it really is going to impact you much. We're in August. I know that it's hot and it's humid. That's what we get this time of year. But we want to make sure that you're at least aware that you could get that isolated severe storm warning. And that's why we're rolling with the first alert, because of that and the heat. So here you go. Working on the details of this forecast, also trying to get more information on this tropical low that is going to be migrating into the Gulf of Mexico. And we will have an update on all of these things tonight on Peachtree TV at 10. And meteorologist Fred Campagna is going to have that last look at 11. So I will see you all in about an hour and 38 minutes.